A Science of Change, podcasting by Gilmore Crosby, social scientist, author, and organization development professional since 1984. Greetings, everyone. Gil Crosby with you again. And today my special guest is Hanna Bauer. Her business is called Heartnomics. And we're just going to explore Hanna's approach to change, organizational and social change. So how are you, Hanna?
I am doing awesome. Very happy to be here with you as your guest.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Appreciate you doing this. And, please just say a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to the audience.
Absolutely. So as I was just telling you earlier, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S., and I have been here for about, oh my goodness, 37 years already. So seeing a lot of change, excited with the growth here in the city, and with that, well, of course, comes opportunity, and that's where a lot of my experience came in. One, in as an entrepreneur, trying to figure it out, getting out there, but the other one also not only learning from my peers, but being able to later on help them through leadership services, through consulting. And then I do a lot of speaking here for events and corporate as well. So a little bit background behind me, as you can hear, is Heartnomics, is both the philosophy, the methodology I use of leading through love and excellence. It's also tied to my own personal story of being having grown up with a terminal illness, being a heart disease, and learning from that really the excellence from the medical teams that didn't give up, and from the love, the sustainability, the ecosystem that led to an innovative surgery. And that's where a lot of my philosophy comes into the business, is in times of change, uncertainty, it's opportunity to give rise to that innovation that we need to continue to not only evolve and serve our businesses, but also serve the people that do great work with us. So that's a bit about what I do.
Okay, that's lovely. So certainly then your personal experience is really important in forming your
Yeah.
approach to things.
Yes.
How about what sort of background, did you take a organizational development
Oh, yes.
path in your education?
100%. Actually, the first time I was introduced to it was organizational psychology. And that class absolutely fascinated me at the university, just understanding how not only the psychology aspect, right, like the internal motivation, but really how we can create external the systems, that even from the color of the buildings inside, how things are set up. That was my first introduction to how environment really had an impact on productivity. Later on, I became a black belt in Six Sigma, which dealt exactly with that, with learning from the environment, making it better. So I got certified in Six Sigma, leading many projects, going to if for those of you that may not be familiar with what that is, and that's where we're getting to 99.9999% accuracy, basically catching any defect before the customer catches a defect. And then a defect, again, is what the organization is something that they don't want either as part of their culture, as part of the product that they do, or definitely not something they want the customer to experience. So that was quite interesting. But again, my initial introduction to it was at the university. The second thing at the university was the team dynamics. Again, in part of my psychology courses, but in team dynamics, I really understood the whole the concept of groupthink, the concept of leadership, when we started unpacking, well, what is leadership in that? And that led on to continuous education on my behalf, one in leadership frameworks, like what I'm doing now through the Maxwell leadership team, not only learning from John Maxwell on various tested leadership methods that work for companies, corporations, but also in the values, the importance of values based leadership. And that's really where I grew from that. And also the DISC, which is the human behavior communication. I became not only a master trainer, but also I'm a consultant with that. Again, going back into my university days, going back into my experiences, just in service of seeing these things played out, and then thinking, how can we make this better? What information could I have had that would have helped me handle the situation better? And with that came these certifications in growth and doing it and getting to help people with through it as well. Really understanding that the more I understand about me, the more I understand how to communicate, the more I understand, the more aware I am as a leader, and the better I take even failure into really opportunities to learn. That way I'm able to help somebody else, and then any tools with the certifications help me do that and train other people to be able to do that as well for others.
Nice. So Maxwell was a big influence on you.
Yes, huge.
Yeah, and you mentioned group dynamics.
Yes.
And of course, Kurt Lewin, that I am heavily influenced by, was he says it was really Margaret Mead. The two of them were talking, and he doesn't even know if he said group dynamics first or Margaret Mead did, but together somehow they started calling the influence of the group on the individual
Yeah.
group dynamics, and that's pretty critical in the change work I do. Is if the group is changing, then it's more likely the individual change will stick.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you start thinking, of like mob mentalities, right? I mean, that's part of group dynamics, and we don't even think about it. Where mobs are not really thinking together, just kind of going. They
Sure.
might not even know. So, and I think so many times we just think like, oh, a mob is just a concert. No, you can literally have mob moments, or even mob in a business where you just have a aggregate group of people dispersed around, and then this not that strategy. When you don't have that strategy being applied to it, really becomes a mob, right? Like, well, what are we doing? And it only lasts as long as energy lasts.
Yeah, there's both positive and you could say negative group dynamics, and fear is certainly likely to lead a whole society down a path that's
Oh yeah.
perhaps not desirable. We've got, I think, a lot of that being exploited right now, fear, as a way of influencing people.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about the two reasons why, I mean, everything goes back either to fear, like, right, we're either running away from pain or running towards pleasure. And if you look back at the psychology, that's what is looking right, those two main motivators. So
Sure.
either you're running away from or towards. So it's either fear or pleasure. So those do get used quite a bit in everything that we see, we do, from the news to the way we shop, the way we do work, how long we stay at work, all those things.
Whoops. I just lost you, Hannah. Okay, well, I'll just wait patiently and see if Hannah can reconnect. I'm glad you're back. So you were talking about,
We were talking about group dynamics and then
yes,
pain and either
pleasure.
the fear. Yeah, either going the fear, and fear used a lot. So that's where we left off.
Yeah, well, I certainly prefer the connecting through heart
Yes.
over fear.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. I mean, think about it. What would it look like, right? If organizations led with courage instead of fear, what would be some of those shifts in the decision making?
Sure. And that's, what I work on all the time is just bringing people together, like hourly workers and their supervisors, to just talk about what's in the way of the work and
Mm.
what can they do about it, and to build a relationship while they're solving their problems. So it's a lot based on heart.
Yeah, I think it's so key what you just said is, I mean, honestly, the relationship, right? Because we can ask for ideas all day long to come to the table, but if that relationship's not built, either those ideas are not going to come or they're not going to stick. So building that relationship so that you can build that environment, and that's really, it speaks a lot to the psychological safety. right? I mean, having those seats at the table and the accessibility to different levels of leadership, not only to your immediate perhaps supervisor or the immediate person, but really getting to know the other cross-functional groups in an organization, getting to know
That's
the different
critical.
levels. Yeah.
It's just common human behavior to blame other groups.
Yes. We
And
like to blame what's different. In any way,
yep,
any function, it could be like finance department with the IT department. I mean, if you have something entertaining, it's watching those two.
yep. And if they don't talk to each other about how to help each other, then people stay apart if they don't actually talk to people instead of just talking about them and talking about groups.
Right. And that's why it's like the whole thing with group dynamics is really, if you think about an organization, is that shared, what are the common things that we share in. And to start in an organization is the mission, is the vision, is the values, which is why it's so important for the leader. Every day they're feeding that. Every day they're feeding the values. Every day they're feeding into, like, they're making decisions according to what's mission critical, according to how we're going to take this mission moving forward. Because at the end of the day, it's that vision, that mission, and those values that are going to have that share, that common ground. And when we realize we're here all together to accomplish that, it makes those conversations that much easier.
Sure, and even having the conversations be deep enough in the organization that people are figuring out, well, what's my piece of this, and how can I help
Mm.
move in the right direction,
Hmm.
uh, is really important
Yeah.
from my perspective.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that speaks again to the belonging, that speaks to the ownership. If they feel like they belong, they're gonna ask exactly that question, like you said, what is my part here? And that's what it's asking, right? At the end of the day, it's like, if how is my work here, how is it meaningful work? Because as part of the humanity, we want to do something that's going to be meaningful, that's going to be purposeful. We want to grow. Everything around us is growing, is changing. We see that with the seasons, we see that with the day. So even innately, as employees, as members, as part of an organization, want to see, is my work here, is it meaningful work? And we see that direct correlation with those that do feel that meaningful work, that part in the organization, with their productivity. Productivity will rise where there is ownership of work, where there is, hey, a sense of belonging, to the work, to the mission, but also belonging to the group that they do the work with.
I think that makes sense, and I think a big part of that is if I'm able to influence and help make things better, and people are actually listening to me, then I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm going to have a sense of belonging. And if the leadership is just in the habit of trying to come up with all the solutions and do all the thinking, I think it has the opposite effect.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be burnout, first of all, in the leadership. And plus it's gonna be like you're gonna miss out on the greatest things. I mean, that's part of our Six Sigma. One of the we have 8 wastes. One of them is the loss of human potential. And the loss of human potential is not just maybe on wrong hires or because somebody quit, but because exactly that, there's not a open arena where other ideas can not only be heard, but also integrated and implemented and integrated, to
Yep.
where it does relieve the leadership, the executive team and all that, to have to come up with every single solution to every single problem. You don't want that. You'll have a burned out executive team. You're going to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
losing potential of the people you have.
We call that over functioning, and in my mind, that the group dynamic is, if the leaders are over functioning, trying to do all the thinking, then they're really inviting the workforce to under function,
Mm-hmm.
and it's demoralizing for everybody.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we people, uh, they if you under after the question, how are you doing, or what's your name, is usually, what do you do? I mean, it just tells you how important the work that you do goes with identity. Not to say that should be the only thing, but the way that society looks at it. So you have to see that, hey, that being the question, what do you do, is because it does matter. And an underutilized, demoralized workforce doesn't do good, not only for the productivity, but even like the whole self identity of a person that wants to do meaningful work, that wants to
Sure.
move on to something, you know?
Yeah, my degree is master's in social work,
Mm-hmm.
and I have done some like crisis psychiatric work and a few years of dabbling in that field, and then in organizational work, a whole place can go from being demoralized to feeling much better emotionally, and having higher self-esteem in the process of helping move the organization forward from like bitterness to much more alignment and heart. And it's a you can raise the lives of so many people by having an
Mm.
organization move in the right direction. It's much quicker than therapy.
Yeah, and they'll save a lot of money in therapy and health costs. But I think
Well,
it's so interesting, like what you said, right? I mean, you go from moving from bitterness to alignment, and it really is an emotion into a function, right? I mean, and it is true. Our emotions very much are going to be impacting our functionality, just like our functionality is going to be impacting our, or lack of, is going to impact our emotions. And they do go hand in hand into I guess consistently, if you think about with coming to an organization, to ask somebody to leave that out the door, like the emotions or whatever the non-task skill is, so to only do task-based things during whatever time you're here, it really leaves out so much of the richness and the wealth, really, that the we bring as humans to the workplace, to be able
yep.
to tackle on complexity. To
Yeah, if people are saying leave your emotions at the door, they really mean everyone's upset here. Stop talking about it. Uh, and so it doesn't work. Of course, the emotions are there,
Yes.
and it just means that they're sort of stuck in difficult emotions.
Yes, and that is something that I have seen a shift overall. I mean, you do start hearing more about emotional intelligence, the whole
Hmm.
IQ factor, than we did, 20 years ago. I know that even in college, for me, it was something that we were aware of, but it wasn't that emphasis like it is now. To where people that hire, and even in leadership, they really are looking into beyond just the fact that you're the subject matter expert, and that you're very skillful in what you do, and even that you may be a top performer in what you do. But if that emotional intelligence is not there, as far as leading complexity, navigating through complexity, it's something that people are being more aware that they need to develop themselves, or develop in their leaders. it,
Sure.
it is a big deal. It's important, especially now with so much
Yeah.
uncertainty.
Goldman helped make it more visible with his book Emotional Intelligence, and his slew of other books that have followed. But uh, yeah, it's uh, being human is to be emotional, and you can be happy and you can be unhappy, and so many places are trapped in unhappiness that it's tiresome. uh, Lewin,
Yeah.
my hero, uh, was really helping people with T group learning and experiential learning back in the 40s to pay attention to the emotionality of groups, and the way that forcing solutions on people caused tension.
Yeah.
Uh, if you try to force change, it increases tension, and the tension wears out the change. Whereas if you have people implementing solutions that make sense to them because they help create them, you're going to get the much more energy flow, much more motivation. Uh, People don't get bored and demotivated. It takes an organization that's not engaging them to
Mm-hmm.
motivation.
Yeah, and I think it's so key, and I honestly failed to remember. Yeah, of course, Lewin. I remember. I think my social psychology class, we that was one of my first exposures to the whole, again, the aspect, like the impact of behavior from their environment, right? Like meaning that is a function of their environment. So 100%, a person, and you see that, right, with new hires or something that's new, that the person comes extremely excited. You might even get a new outfit. They have it's a big announcement to the family. I mean, you see the individual part when they're starting either a new position within a company or a new position somewhere else. There is this excitement, and then you see this excitement is either going to be sustained, and not to say that we just live off of excitement, but there has to be some sort of internal motivation to want to continue to get better, or it's going to be diminished. And a lot of that does have to do with environment. I mean, in the environment is the culture, is what sustains it, right? I mean, how does a leader sustain it's just like that first time impression they have with the business. How do you sustain that, right? And hopefully the first impression was good, but if the first impression is not good, that in itself demotivates. But it's
Sure.
huge. It's huge. I mean, talk about the theory of change, right? I mean, we're talking about the constant freezing, changing, the organizational practices that go with that. I mean, there's so much. An environment is huge. It, and
It is. If go through the dating process with the organization and put on your best face and they put on their best face and you get there and like you say you're excited, and then you're in a work team where the experienced workers are demoralized,
mm-hmm.
it's not going to likely last long before you start to feel the same discouragement.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Because that's gonna be, I mean, like that's the peer pressure, right? Like the peer
Yep.
pressure is either gonna be like, "Hey, we love this place. It's awesome. This is what the culture allows," basically, or the peer pressure is gonna be like, no, we don't. We hate this. We don't like this. You can't like it
Yep.
either."
And I don't think it matters the difficulty of the work, even. I mean, a lot of the places I'm in, the work is hard. And if people like how they're being treated, they're cool with that. They're ready to go after it. But if they think they're being treated like dirt, uh, then the work being hard just it all becomes drudgery.
Yeah, and that's, those are opportunities for change, right? And I think
Yep.
that's the part that becomes hard, because if internally you either don't have a motivation to look into, like, is there a change that's needed here to begin with? But the other part is, it wins, any change is going to be hard to make, right? I mean, but it's going to be easier than sustaining that change.
Yep.
There has to be that internal and environmental support.
I think, often the change isn't so hard. It's just that people don't know how to do it. And sometimes they just think that the way things are is just the way things will always be. And so, the leaders try to, do things like Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, great stuff if you engage the workforce in it, but often
Mhm.
it's put in like an engineering project. Okay, from now on you're going to keep your area clean and sort, and do the 5 S's, and it gets done like it's a police work now. You
Mm.
have to comply or else you're a problem, and so it's just the way it gets led.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is such a huge variable.
Oh,
And
I made that mistake. 100%. I was that. I was that police. Like, once I remember when, because we were in a critical moment, right? And we did need change, and we had to implement change. Then being introduced to Six Sigma methodology, and hey, all hands on board. We were going to do this because we were in survival mode as well. And did it gain wins. We had short wins, then we had overall successes. And guess what? This was feeling really good. I became your process, the basically the one who was operating by old processes, by old project charters, by old things. But the big mistake I made as a leader is that I lost the building of that report that I knew to do. And so, whereas something that had been an initiative to really save and the survival overall of the operations, um, inadvertently, because of my lack of leadership, of growing in that sense, I had become disconnected from the very people I was looking to, in a way, save, right? Um, uh, Through my methodologies and through my processes and things. Particularly, I remember in my big wake up call was when I had the resignation of one of my key leaders that I had totally poured into. With the not only Six Sigma methodologies, but training, authority, and for him, it's like that the stress was too much, to where he actually took a job that paid less. So it wasn't even about a pay raise. It was the stress and the constant, oversight and processing became too much. And not really, I had forsaken getting to, again, in touch with the heart of my people. And that's where after that wake up call, doing a checkup from the neck up, like Ziegler says it really became aware of I needed to be intentional in working on my communication and behavioral aspects, and really getting in touch with my people. That's where DISC came in for me. I got trained, and I trained also a core group, and then I made it intentional every single day from that moment on, realizing that it was important for me to walk the hallways, to go into the offices, to bring in whatever it was, chicken nuggets, donuts, have, the casual time where I had opportunities where we were playing soccer after work, or we were going bowling, along with looking at ways that we're looking, not only the needs of the business to be profitable, but the needs of my workers, which was creating a play area for, I had a lot of parents, and they a lot of days were in critical, wanting to finish their work, but they couldn't because they had to go pick up their kid, and they didn't have someone to pick up the kid. Well, I created a whole area where a play area with a Wii, with a sitting, with toys, with things to where the parents could come back. They gave them the option to come back with their children to work, to finish what they want to finish, and they did. They would, but it
Nice.
took me listening.
Yeah, if you don't pay attention to the human dynamics, it doesn't matter what method you're using. It'll not create what you hoped it'll create. So
No, even the contrary. Great
yeah,
things. Remember, every solution is going to create a problem. I mean, like a solution is going to have a side effect. I mean, think about even just pharmaceuticals and drugs, right? I mean, you can take a medicine for something, and then you have all the side effects. It can cause this, and that. So even like the cure, the solution to something is going to have some sort of side effect, and you have to know what those are so you can keep your eye on those so that you can put attention to them or plan for them when the time comes.
cool. I like the examples you just gave about paying attention to people, and even just back to the walking the floor. That's if if nothing else, if leaders don't get out and walk around and talk to people and not just grill them, but say hello and listen and help them act on ideas they have and so on, and make sure that it's happening at the right levels. And if you don't connect, you're not going to lead successfully.
Yes. Connect us first.
Yeah, connecting is really important. Now, a lot of new leaders come into organizations, and maybe they've been placed there by someone else, in the company, and been told fix this, and they come in and just start trying to fix things instead of connecting,
Yeah.
and that generally backfires.
And that's also because so much of some of the leadership models have been that is linear, right? You have input, there's output, input, output, input, out. If I put this in, I'm going to get this out. And it's not like that.
Right.
We deal in a complex environment with complex beings. Human beings are complex. There's other needs outside of just here is how you do this and here's the material to do it. And so there's the need for encouragement, validation, motivation, belonging, ownership, being listened to. Yeah, all of these other things that come into play that bring complexity to where your old style, in a sense, the management models were very linear. They don't work, especially when you're dealing with younger generations too. There is complexity, so you gotta connecting allows you to see these other complex the factors that may be happening that you really can't predict because you just don't know what you don't know. So you can't change what you don't know. Connecting, building that rapport is going to help you get awareness. The next part is what you do with that awareness as a leader.
And you certainly can't know what all the people doing the work know. And so if you're not tapping that by creating structures so that they can influence, you're making a big mistake, in my humble opinion.
Oh, yes. Again, the loss of that potential, the loss of the reason why you brought them in. Because you think about it, maybe people go into a job, into a workplace because they want to not only be there, this is the time that I'm going to put in here, but I'm bringing my talent, I'm bringing my whole self. But just like that, the company is bringing this individual because there's something that they value, they want to see. So we have many more common things in place that we do that are separate. And the key factor for organizations and the leaders is keeping those key factors alive and feeding them every day, feeding how we value our people, bringing value to them, validating, giving them clarity. Those every opportunity that we have to bring clarity because maybe something got missed, either a deadline or a work, a defect went down the line. We have those are really opportunities, and honestly in leadership those conflicts are really the way that as a leader you're operating and what you're meant to do. If there's no conflict ever, there's really no need for leadership. I mean, we're all just doing our thing. It's when there's conflict that leadership is needed.
That makes a lot of sense. You're a sensible person.
Thank you.
So, what kind of organization was it that you were talking about where you were in that leadership position?
So I've been in various, and at the one in particular, where I had the longest term was in a publishing company, but I also had a
Hmm.
manufacturing side. So I was exposed to not only the development from the content itself, but also the manufacturing that goes along with it, which was a whole other dynamic dealing with machines, the changeover times, things like that. That I
Uh-huh.
actually saw a lot of familiarity, really, with things that were happening in the office space. So I found it fascinating to not only learn from the manufacturing side and applying into the office, really, but also applying things in the office into the manufacturing. But outside of that, I also dealt a lot with nonprofits. So, and in nonprofits, although it can be a whole other animal in the sense that the way that you produce income is different. You still, instead of having one boss, in essence, you got whoever the grantor is. So if you have like 10 grants, you got like 10 different um, bosses, the ones that are giving you a paycheck, plus whatever way that you need to now report in, which for each grant, for each pot of money that you're receiving, you have to report in a different way. So it was also getting the balance of how do you still be integrous to what the grantor, the giver of the money is, including donors, but also keeping the main thing, so you don't have a lack of scope of what you do, and you start drifting away from your mission because you're following the money, which can be a tendency even in nonprofits, right? I mean, because of where the pots of money come in. So I was able to help quite a bit also that with the nonprofits. It's been a steady for me also in this past 30 years. So it's been an interesting ride for me from both sides. And then, got to train a lot of government. And that one's different. I mean, they don't have the whole, we got to produce income every day like a private business, and they don't have to like be looking for grants and keeping donors informed and partners. They basically are dealing a lot with the external customers, but internally there's also quite a bit, right? Like, how do you keep government units motivated when there may not be these external factors that are urgent, like in other places? Because
Hmm.
a lot of times the change is because of urgency, right? In a private business, if your income is going down, like, hey, we got to change something. We got to either create a new product, or we're going to get a product, do better marketing. In nonprofit, if their grant is running out, or they have to start producing half of it by next year, they're figuring out a way. They're talking to more people. They're talking to more foundations. They're talking to, there's an urgency there. But in government, you may not have that. You may not have the urgency of that income, but yet you still need to produce. You still want the experience. So it's been an interesting dynamic between all three of those that I've had the privilege to work with.
People in government still want to have the work go smoother. So there's room for organizations to develop, even if they have a different circumstance, like you said, not facing the profit margin and all that.
Right. They might have the accountability factor, right? Because now,
Yep.
unlike a private entity where nobody is going to really like, hey, that's your business is a private thing, right? The whole purpose of the word. In the government setting, there's so much of the accountability where things can become like what we call a simple defect in private can be very much a highly scrutinized event in the government sector, which is a big deal. So, although it's not an income thing, it's an accountability when we're talking about government, and really guarding that and making sure that all the pieces are working together. Because there are also things with government is a lot of lives depend on it. I mean, the roads have to work well. Just the infrastructure with the internet, with the broadband in cities. Like the way that the city operates is huge, and that could cause major things if the 911 that whole sector is not working because of something happened in the city. It wasn't done well, developed well, or maintained well. You put people's lives in danger immediately. Versus, so there's a different
Responsibility.
risk. Yes, the accountability, the responsibility. So it may not be an income thing, but there's definitely very high stakes in the government positions.
Yeah, and they don't get a lot of love from the general public, but
No.
I appreciate them. I
Yeah.
appreciate them. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
It's kind of like what people expect them to be. They just expect them. It's just expected that you're going to be there. And it's like not appreciated necessarily that you are there every day working.
yeah.
There's a
Until
lot of,
something happens like Katrina and the government fails.
yes.
Yes, and so anyway, I think functional government is really important, and I actually give higher credit to the government that we have than has been popular to do. It's anyway,
Yeah. A lot of decision making.
yeah, a lot of decision making and doing things without getting a lot of necessarily positive feedback.
Yeah, and again, and it's high stakes. I mean, you think about the many things that. I mean, I've had the honor
Sure.
to work with SWAT teams. I've had the honor to work in many department like the Health and Human Services, the
Hmm.
Parks and Recreation. I mean, and these are they're running big things, big operations, and it could be a everyday decision, but people's lives are in these decisions every single day. So I think definitely the
People
self,
depend on them.
yeah, the self-care. I mean, I've done work with the Department of Juvenile Justice, Department of Justice. I mean, and it's like it's a lot. It's a lot, and absolutely right. What you're saying is that they don't get the love. So I expect it. I'm expecting you to make all these decisions. I expect you to be there when I need you, but I need to also give you some love, and that does have to come in from the public. We can do a better job in expressing that and expressing that gratitude, expressing that love, because they definitely do a lot of work every day for us. That is keeping us safe and keeping things running that we don't even notice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So much of it's crisis work, like dealing with families that are in crisis and so on, that we wouldn't notice unless we were in a crisis ourselves.
Right. It's kind of like you don't
Yeah.
know where they exist until you need them.
Yep. Yep. Well, so this has been lovely. I think we're probably have kind of covered as much as we need to in terms of like the time and so on. Is there something that's important to you to tell the audience? And also, I want to make sure the audience like knows how to get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely. Thank you for asking. So, important thing one is I think we talked about the group dynamics. We talked about environment, and of course the need for the leader to create those winning environments, but also the need for the leader to be aware of themselves. So that's a big part of my work. For that, I've written a book. It's called Hustle with Heart, and it's 52 mini shifts to maximize your impact. You can find that on Amazon. This one is for your internal alignment, as a leader. A big thing for me is that you cannot give what you don't have. And we're constantly, when we're talking about engagement, when we're talking about giving appreciation, keeping people motivated, keep encouraged, which is what you do in leadership, it's hard to do when you're running on empty or even in a negative. So, one of my big things is to really take care of my leaders out there, with your health, with your mental health, with the
Mhm.
what yourself you're giving out, because it does impact. I mean, you think about how many people have been hurt because of leaders. People have been hurt in organizations. People don't leave organizations, people leave people. So if we can be good people, right people, then we can also create good, healthy, thriving organizations, and that starts with self. So that's where my Hustle with Heart book focuses on. And of course, working with organizations. I love leadership because I believe 100% in teams, and I believe 100% in the standards and the excellence that we got to have in practicing them. That's where my Six Sigma background comes in. That's where my DISC backgrounds comes in. So I love working with organizations to bring balance to both sides of the equation through their leadership. So I would love to work with more of you that are out there. If you're having some challenges or want to take it to the next level, scaling your business and putting some, looking at your systems, your processes, or looking at your people systems and your processes, I would love to have the opportunity to work with you as well.
Nice. And so also, if they just Google Heartnomics.
Yes. Heartnomics.com. So if you go to www.heart, as in the heart, HEARTNOMICS.com, you can find my website there. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Hanna Bauer. We can connect through there as well.
Great. And if they contact me in search of you, I will send them on.
I appreciate that.
Well, this has been lovely, Hannah. Your heart comes through.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you. It is about the heart. It has to start with the heart. Because that's really what matters, right? I mean, this is what we remember, not only the great work we do, but how we do it, and it's all hard work.
Nice. Now, I can edit this if you're uncomfortable with this next question, but I love your voice.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
I'm just, can you say a little bit about like your background, including like your ethnic background?
Sure. Actually, I was born in Peru. But
Ooh,
yep, um,
wow.
in Lima, Peru, and I grew up in Venezuela, in the Margarita Island. So yes, there is an island called Margarita. It has nothing to do with the drink. It's about a flower. It's actually the daisy flower, Margarita. It's right next to. It's in the Caribbean. And from
Jimmy
there,
Buffett doesn't live there?
no,
I
no.
mean, he's passed on, so maybe he does then.
Yeah, I know people immediately they get excited. Margarita, ooh, like no, it's a daisy flower, really. That's
Okay.
what it is. That's a direct
Okay.
translation. So it's like Daisy Island in essence, if you were to translate it.
One of
But
my favorite customers right now is Peruvian,
oh,
and
really?
he's a great leader. He's taken one place after the next to higher heights and done it with a lot of heart.
Oh, that's super
So
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so well from Venezuela really. I mean, I've been in Georgia for over like 37 years. So it's
That's a long time.
yeah, it's been a bit. So it's kind of like you still have the roots from over there, but I've been here. This is really the world I know, a lot of parts, and just with very involved in the community as well, and always helping people here and serving. It's been a great run. Been very privileged to be able to serve and work with so many great peers here in the city.
Well, they sound like they're lucky to have you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm blessed as well.
Okay, well, I think that's a wrap. In anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think I love the conversation with you. I really loved you bringing me back to Lewin. If you brought me back to my psychology days, my sociology days. I'm sorry. So I was
Well,
like,
the
yeah, stick it.
social
Yeah,
psychology, that's
yeah,
really that he created it, so for the most part. So
yeah. No, fascinating work. And I was just like, yes, yeah. I remember. Like, see, we were talking. It's like, oh yes, of course. Hello. And so
yeah,
no, thank you.
yesterday was his birthday.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Kurt.
Yes.
and and thank you so much for joining me, Hannah.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening in, all of you that are out there. Hey, I appreciate you listening. This, again, is Gil Crosby. And I want you to take advantage of what's available to you. I have many free materials. I am happy to talk to people about their situations, especially if you're trying to create change, either social change or organization change. We have frequent workshops that are available, T group workshops. If you have never been in a T group with us, then don't miss it in your life. It's many people have said to me, of all the trainings I've ever received, I got this one 30 years ago and it's the only one that stuck with me. You're learning from your actual interactions with the other participants and with the faculty. The faculty are walking the same talk that they're teaching of behavioral skills. It's a training workshop. That's what the T stands for. This is done in the spirit of the creation of T groups by Kurt Lewin and his associates. It's for groups. It's for teams. That's how it was originally designed. It is a opportunity to learn about theory and put it directly into practice. Again, the original design, you learn things and then you put them into practice. It was not just all ambiguity, which is how some T groups, most are led today, where the faculty hardly says anything. That's not how this is designed. So join us for that. There's always workshops. There's the Leadership Institute of Seattle, a 2-year program where you will learn from T groups and learn how to do all the organization development work that my father designed, most of it, and I continue that practice alongside my brother Chris and many other associates. So don't be a stranger. There's a lot going on. It's always changing. So be in touch, and it's on the website, crosbyod.com. I look forward to working with you in your organization or as you pursue things like reducing gun violence and decreasing racism in our society. Whatever your goals are, the social science of Kurt Lewin guides how to achieve those goals in a reliable way. And so that's what I apply and practice every day. And I invite you to do the same. Together, we can create high productivity and morale in organizations. We can create stronger foundations for democracy. We can create a better world.